Spotlight with Shadow, a Canadian dad who's got his finger on the pulse of global entertainment and sports. Each episode features unfiltered conversations with everyday creatives, musicians, wrestlers, filmmakers, and more from every corner of the globe. No fluff, just raw, real stories. This is Spotlight with Shadow, presented by Off the Top Media.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Spotlight with Shadow. I am your host, Shadow. Tonight, I am joined by independent wrestler Happy G. How are we doing tonight, my guy?
I'm doing good. How you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm loving the life. You know, I'm just crazy with stuff happening, but it's not about me. It's about you. We're putting the spotlight on you tonight. So I'm just going to dive right in. No time for the pleasantries. What has life been like as an independent wrestler thus far?
Busy. And it's there's so much going on in life now that I started wrestling. I recently got on the scene back in February at Off the Ropes Tusslemania. And since then, it's, every couple of weeks, it's go, inside and outside the ring. There's always something to do. So life has definitely picked up way quicker than I thought it would. But I'm loving it.
So you're very fresh into the scene. Where do you draw your inspiration from?
So much. I know a lot of my inspiration comes from my idol, and he's going to call me a mark if he sees this, but Jeff Black was my idol, is my idol, and I take a lot of inspiration from him. But beyond that, I take a lot of inspiration, honestly, a lot from my family, a lot of where my life has come from now, from where it used to be back when I was a bit younger. And it's like, if we're looking at larger athletes, larger professionals, I took a lot of inspiration from CM Punk, Jeff Hardy, the guys that are tatted up and out there giving off energy, getting the crowd hot. You know what I mean? That's where I'm trying to build myself from.
Awesome. How old are you, if I may ask?
I'm 28 years old.
28. Okay. So you're just starting in okay. So I'll go into this. What were you doing prior to becoming a wrestler?
So before becoming a wrestler, I started my own company called Forever Changing Apparel and Collectibles, and it branched over to running stands at expos. I was doing a lot of pop-up stands, getting into merch, creating shirts, creating stuff, and I happened to get the opportunity to set up a stand and sponsor a wrestling show. So I got into there, and I started selling a little bit of wrestling collectibles, and I mean, just being around it just drew me in. And seeing what those guys could go out and do and seeing the reactions they got, it was inspirational. So from there, I asked to start training at Off the Rope Studio, and yeah, it just took off. I loved every minute of it from beginning till now, and yeah.
So I'm staring at your logo, Dem Dawgs logo, and I get a heavy vibe of Zachary Wentz, MSK, all of them. Is that the inspiration there, or is this just you turned up to 90?
The inspiration here is my sister actually threw it together. We were debuting, I was debuting, and I decided to go out and get a dog collar because we're Dem Dawgs, me and my tag team partner, Izzy Dubs. And I threw the dog collar on, and my sister was like, why don't you wrap and throw a logo in it? And it, the logo, the lettering in it does match some of the stuff I've made before. And it's just, that is the exact dog collar. We took a picture of it, and then she threw it on the computer and did her magic. Crazy talented graphic designer. But yeah, the inspiration, and then it was a pretty colored logo, and it got through to black and white. I don't know. And do I say NWO? The black and white's classic, and we just thought it looked really good.
I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say I've had there is a rendition of the Off the Top logo that just says OTT in the styling of NWO. Yeah. So I think everybody that's a wrestling fan has just done that one way or another. It has to be a thing, right? You have to feel a part of it. So prior to wrestling, you were doing expos and your merch and stuff like that. Why have you? So does that give you a step up on most of your independent guys when it comes to your own merch, because you've already been there, you know how to sell it, you can reach maybe farther?
I wouldn't say so. There's a lot of great merch out there. I think with what we have going on, we were able to come up with it quick. I think we had our first shirts for our debut, and it was a lot of family came out and started wearing them. But then from there, we were able to produce them, get them out, and then people start seeing our family wearing it, and it really blew up in that sense. But I wouldn't say I have like a step over anybody else. Definitely not the top seller, but definitely trying to be.
So you have your design, you have your merch, you're making your debut, you step through that curtain and you see a sea of people wearing it.
Yeah.
What is that like? Like,
Chill.
before you even step in the ring, what is it like to see your merch on people and just there for you? Let's take away the fact that they're family, just visualization of this. What is that like?
It was wild. It's something I could never. There's something you'll never be able to get over. Coming through that curtain, seeing the fans, surprisingly having people bark back at us when we bark at them. We wasn't sure if that was going to go over or not, but having a bunch of people barking and getting behind us, cheering for us. I mean, like, I'm 8 years old again. You know, I like living my dream. It's crazy. It was unreal. It's an adrenaline that it's hard to describe, you know. It's addicting.
Without going too far into detail, because I don't believe in pulling the curtain back on the business, where does the name Happy G inspiration come from?
So my last name's Gatoski, and I recently had it changed back. I was adopted. I had the different last name with another family who's still my family, but I decided to go back to my original birth name, Kevin Gatoski, out of respect for my grandfather mostly. So the G got thrown in there, and then Happy it's what my family calls me. It's what my friends called me. You know, it's what I went by beforehand. And man, I just thought it went good. Happy G, really easy to remember, and I honestly love it. So, yeah.
Growing up in the KW area, and I'll give away that because that's a broad area. Nobody knows exactly. What were you doing with your time other than watching? I would assume watching pro wrestling. Were you a hockey player, football player? What were you into?
So I did a lot of Greco-Roman wrestling. Went through all of high school. As team captain, I ended up coming back to coach my high school 2-3 years after I graduated. So I devoted most of my time to that, honestly. And then beyond that was getting behind. I tried to run my own YouTube show, went nowhere, but the clothing brand was born out of it. So started making clothing, trying to see how I can get in the world of wrestling. Every wrestler needs merch. That was my idea. And then come down the road now, it's actually paid off a little bit. I'm in here. I got my own merch.
That's always a positive. You still do that company, or is it folded, or what?
Yeah. We're still running it. It's still going as of today. As of right now, we are doing a lot of sponsorships for local companies. We like to reach out and sponsor local events and see if there's any other way we can help. If we can make shirts, if we can help promote the event, if we can come out and do something for them, that's what we're there for these days.
I love that. I mean, giving back to the community is huge. Giving back to people that you feel you can give back to, especially in today's world, is a huge thing. So I know this is Spotlight of Happy G, but I'm interested. Let's learn a little bit about your tag team partner, Izzy Dubs.
Izzy Dubs, he's the man. This guy it's phenomenal to have someone. It's weird when you meet someone and you almost feel like it's the same person. It's like looking in the mirror, but he's a little bit uglier. No, I'm totally kidding. No, he's amazing. A little bit older than me, a little bit wiser than me for sure. But it's to have someone that just backs you as much as you've wanted to be backed, and for the amount that I feel like I can bring, he can bring tenfold. He's the driving factor. I'm the bark, he's the bite, right? But yeah, he came in with me. We started around the same time. And it's one of those weird bromances that just kicked in. So many stupid things were coming through, and it was hilarious. And we're we should be a tag team someday. That would be really funny. And then boom, they're like, yeah, you guys want to be a tag team? And we went from there. Phenomenal athlete. I would say when he goes out there, he's looking to wrestle. He's looking to get the job done. And it's Izzy Dubs for a reason. He's looking for the W.
I love that. I mean, very rarely do you ever hear somebody call their tag team partner uglier, but I'm taking it with a dub. Just flying around.
You'll get that one.
Friend of the show, friend of mine, Jimmy Spite, actually reached out to you to tell you about me. And what has your experience been like with Jimmy?
Oh, Jimmy is phenomenal. He is one of the most caring, passionate people I've ever come across. It's insane. From day one, I met Jimmy. We were both kind of helping out on a show. He was on the show. I wasn't quite there yet, and yeah, he genuinely showed interest in me, which was like really cool coming from a guy like him. I really looked up to him, watching him wrestle that night, getting to know him as I was like, wow, this guy's. And for him to look back and actually want to like get to know me was really cool. And from there, like he's had my back. He's looked out for me, which is really nice. And yeah, like he was on your show. I was able to give that a watch. It was a phenomenal episode. And he was like, hey, why don't you give him a shout? Great opportunity. See what they say. And thank you, Jimmy, if you're watching this.
Yes, very much. Thank you, Jimmy. We appreciate learning every bit of independent talent we can. Hopefully, when you guys blow up, you don't forget about us. And we were one of your first interviews. So, we're here in the trenches with you because we
Yeah,
support our indie friends, because that's what people do.
appreciate it.
So what causes, I know you had briefly mentioned there's some causes that you work with within the KW area that are close to your heart. So by all means, let's hear about them here on the air here.
Yeah. Well, the KW Humane Society and Cambridge Humane Society, we're dogs trying to help dogs, basically. We've been donating all the money from our merch to those organizations to really try to make a difference. We are wrestling on a show coming up October 5th, Bullies on Parade. It's going to be a great show. And again, all proceeds, I shouldn't say all the proceeds. A lot of the money is going towards the show and the donations, and to come out and support it would be phenomenal. And that's stuff we're really trying to get into. We really want to make a difference. We're big. Like I grew up, my stepmom was big on like animals, a lot of animal rescue. And that was just something I grew up with. And it was internalized. And now that I have the ability to possibly make a difference in that sense, we're trying to do the same.
I love that. I'm not much, no disrespect, I'm not much of a dog person these days. I don't have the energy to do so, and I don't think it's fair for me to take on a dog that would need that much energy, because I have 4 children, and I love dogs. Don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is I am not in a place where bringing one home would be ideal,
Right.
because it's not fair to the dog,
No.
because it deserves the love and the attention and the affection it needs, and I just can't. As much as I'd love to own a husky right now, or a Rottweiler, anything like that, I just can't, because I can't devote my time to them. And a lot of people forget that, and then they end up in these shelters, which is unfair.
That is the unfair part. It's really unfortunate when you see it. And going through life, I've adopted a couple dogs throughout the years and just giving them good homes, making sure they're comfortable. And it is hard, right? And you're making obviously a great decision with understanding your surroundings and what you're capable of. And for those who unfortunately couldn't or took on too much, that's what we're trying to help out, is get some money towards the foundations and really help make a change and hopefully give them a better lives.
Yeah, and remember, the pet that you take is a pet for life, not a pet for a gift. Well, it can be a gift, but not just a temporary thing.
Exactly.
So you have wrestled. We're in September, October time. You've been starting since February, so you got about 6 months in now, 7-ish. What is the biggest thing you have disliked, respectfully disliked, in the world of professional wrestling?
Oh,
Besides the internet wrestling community that's full of dorks and dumbasses, but
well, they've always shown love, so love them online. Um, you know what the biggest thing I've disliked in the wrestling world is where I thought I could hold myself and I got into. I've disliked how high I almost held myself. The dislike would almost come from my own like perspective on the world. I held myself to a pretty high standard. I came into the world and I was like, whoa, as like everyone should, you check the ego at the door and you get to know the real you. And I hated that, but now I love it. And it's a two-sided face with that one. But coming in and just like really getting down deep to myself, getting into my own struggles, like learning to really like work with other people, communicate, like it's hard for anybody. And getting in and realizing that I'm not as good as I thought I was something I hated, but like it was a blessing in disguise. And it's something I absolutely love now because I wouldn't be where I am.
I love that answer. I've asked a few other independent wrestlers this question. I'm going to ask you. Once you walk through that curtain, do you have a hard time turning yourself off, or is it where you can't disconnect wrestling from the person?
I can, yeah, no, I don't have a hard time turning myself off once I get out from behind the curtain, because out there is me turned up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like I bring myself to the ring, so to get back out from it, I have a pretty good time coping with it, I guess I would say.
The reason I ask that is because, unfortunately, in the world of wrestling, and I'm just a journalist kind of person in this world, I'm not in the world per se. I've learned just from watching a lot of video or even just other podcasts that a lot of wrestlers can't seem to find that on-off switch with themselves in the beginning. As you get older, you learn it. I think one name that comes to mind, and if you watched any bit of his documentaries or even interviews, Randy Orton would be a prime example of that.
Yeah.
Where he has said that he had a hard time when he was younger turning on and off the lights.
Yeah, yeah. I can definitely see it from his perspective as well. I mean, like the stage he was on at where I was now, like that would be hard. It'd be a struggle to go out there and be like the legend killer Randy Orton and then come back and just I would live it up too. I know that would be very difficult, but I think it's with the right people showing you into this business. I find that I've had the great support who have been able to logically break down like, okay, this is you here and this is you here. They're the same person, but you have to understand the two, right? And I've had moments where you're on cloud nine after a show for sure, after a great match or you're killing it backstage. But I find like you really have to like pull your head back out and realize like once you're back through the curtain, okay, well now it's the learning tree again. We're in here to understand and keep growing yourself, and don't let my ego get in the way. Don't let anything that I'm doing out there happen backstage or at training or anything. So.
Love that answer. Jericho, he said learning trees, stay away from them. So, the day-to-day grind, you do the merch stuff and you run your own business, which is awesome, especially in today's world. You're wrestling. Do the two ever intervene with each other, or because you own the company, you kind of just switch it around easily?
Well, at first I wanted to have the two separate. I wanted to like be this pro wrestler, Happy G, and then I wanted there to be like the company in the background. And my company logo is ridiculously Happy G. It's a big drippy smiley face, and I've been looking at it recently, and I'm like, I got to put the two together. It's a happy face. I'm Happy G, but originally I didn't want to, and the reason why is I didn't want to sponsor shows and then also be looked at as wanting to be on the shows because I sponsored them. I wanted it to be a faceless company with me really getting spots that I earned, I deserve, and that I worked for. But now I'm like, just aesthetically, it looks really good. And I feel like I can still project that image and project that message. I was scared, I guess, in the beginning to put the two together. But now that I've been in it and I realize that, both are me working hard, both are me building up, I think in the future there'll be a lot more crossing paths between the two. But for now, I think it's a very, I try to run it faceless and then I have myself. So yeah.
That's very respectable. And I'm sure, like, let's say you decide to promote, or not promote, that's the wrong word, sponsor a show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure the boys now know you well enough, and the girls, to know that you're not doing this to be on the show. You're doing this because you believe in what company or whatever event you're at that night.
I believe in pro wrestling. That's first and foremost,
So you said, I believe in pro wrestling. Do you believe in Joe Hendry?
Say his name and he appears.
Yeah. God, I hate that guy. So, growing up in Canada, I have to ask, who was your favorite Canadian wrestler of all time? And I swear to God, if it's Bret Hart, this interview is over.
Edge.
Okay.
Edge. All day, me and my friends, Edge. We were Edge heads from day one. We all had the long hair and elementary school, high school. He was like, I grew up in say 2005 to 2007 is when I really sat down and started watching wrestling. And that is when Edge came in. And just to see someone who, he wasn't The Rock. He wasn't huge, but they're like, man, this guy could wrestle. And like the charisma that he had, that's what I've been drawn to, is that just his mind when he works is phenomenal. And then to grow up and just to constantly see this man achieve and to know, like, you know, it's Canada. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And he was the first. And then like you go on, and obviously Christian has to be mentioned. There's Jericho. But like to finally see like Edge was the guy. I don't know. Call me a mark, call me a fanboy, but
well, it's funny you said Edge. Two reasons. I was lucky enough to know his mother personally, which is really cool. You know, with time spent in Orangeville. And the fact that I have this sitting on my where am I going here? This is sitting on my table as I was drinking out of tonight.
That's cool.
You know, it's really cool, and I'm glad you didn't say Bret Hart, because I feel like that's such a cliche damn thing to do, and I don't like him. But I digress. That's not about me. Yeah, you got guys like Edge, Christian, both. Christian's actually from the KW area originally, so I mean that's a huge inspiration for anybody coming out of KW. He moved to Orangeville where he met Adam, and they've done their thing since. You know, you have Kenny Omega, you know, Lance Storm, like all these guys that have just come out of here, especially the latter. Kenny Omega arguably maybe bigger known than Bret Hart at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. The amount of talent that had come out, and Kenny Omega himself is phenomenal as well. You know, it's just crazy to see that what Canada is able to produce and what they keep producing. We have Sami Zayn on TV now. We have Kevin Owens on TV now, and the list keeps going on and on. It's like to see that you can see yourself almost, and it's heartwarming to see.
Well, you look at guys like, and I'm going to go back to Omega, but Omega, Kevin Steen, Sammy, literally worked how many indies probably that you will cross over this time, that anybody that you wrestling with or have wrestled already has probably done these tours that they have done.
Yeah.
And they blaze that trail for you guys to show that, hey, come on up, come eat. And I think that's really cool. And that's why I love sitting and interviewing independent wrestlers, because I'm not getting the old, yeah, I'm here, you know, I made it here, blah, blah, blah. I'm getting the true, authentic people.
Right.
And before, you know, the cog in the machine becomes them.
Right.
So that being said, I'm going to ask the next question here of, if you could pick AEW or WWE, does it matter? Or, you know what? I'll even throw in TNA and New Japan. But we're going to stick with the major two, and you can answer the bigger question in a second. WWE and AEW offer you a $10 million contract. All right? Same price, same tour dates, everything's the same.
Yeah.
Where are you going and why?
WWE. It's you know, I would say WWE, and not to knock AEW at all. I don't follow a lot of their content regularly. It's great when I do see it, but WWE is, in my eyes, the place to be. And the amount they bring to the table, more than just pro wrestling, is insane. The fact that I like to see the fact that a professional wrestling company made it, and they're making movies, and they're creating these worldwide known people. They're going to be like the benchmark of history. They're going to be there, starting a whole lot for everybody. Like we have Dwayne The Rock Johnson coming over. We have John Cena. Just for those two people to go out there and for the entire world to know it. And again, not to knock AEW, but I can't see the same happening. And it's just, I would see it out of that. You know, the opportunities that would be able to be accomplished in the sense beyond pro wrestling would be great.
Yeah, a lot of people say that, and I respect it, because let's be real, we grew up with WWE.
Yeah.
AEW is 5 years old, so this generation will grow up with both, and it might be a little bit different when we ask somebody 20 years from now. But WWE is the mecca, up and up.
Right.
It's just the way it has been always, and it will be until the foreseeable future when something actually changes.
Right.
Now, let's open up that question to adding a New Japan to TNA. Do you still feel WWE is the same answer, or would you rather go over to like New Japan?
New Japan would be fun. They're a whole different ballgame, though. It's hard to compare them in the same stance. And with TNA being brought in there, like TNA, you've seen a lot of the overlap between TNA and NXT. And that just goes back to the reason, like WWE, they're making branches. They're finally opening that door. With Vince gone, it's been crazy to see. It's been the Triple H era has really been something. But New Japan, I wouldn't hold the same standard as WWE because it's a whole different ballgame over in Japan. I would say it's its whole separate entity. It's hard to compare.
I love that. So before I ask this next question, this is a trigger warning. You might want to skip ahead 2 minutes here because that's all I'm going to allow the time for it. You just mentioned it. You know, Vince is gone. What is your take on that whole thing once you realize why he was gone?
Just mind blowing. You grew up watching the guy. And I 8 years old, I'm walking down my hallway doing the Vince McMahon and everything. You know, me and my stepdad, just rocking out. We love the guy. And then once it comes up, you know, like it's a hard topic because like Vince's face was so much, and like there's so much that's out there. I think the fact that Netflix is coming out with something means like there's going to be a whole lot more revealed. But it's heartbreaking in a sense to see some of the stuff. Like this is the guy that I wanted to like meet and shake hands with, but I mean, not to get too far into it, it's just crazy.
Yeah, that's kind of why I started the trigger warning, because this conversation can be hard and be
Yeah.
dictated the way it will. Personally, I don't like he changed professional wrestling 100%, but
Yeah.
that's about as much credit as I'm giving him. After that, there's no need to have the conversation. It's disgusting, and that's just the way it is, and we'll move on. Given that question, back to the normal conversation. Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling in general, doesn't have to be WWE. You can give me anybody on your top 4. Who are you going with? And this is your opinion, so it doesn't matter who you pick here.
I would say Ric Flair's up there, number 1. Dusty Rhodes is up there. Beyond that, it's hard because I think I heard in an interview here, Triple H said it himself. It's hard to name a Mount Rushmore because there's a lot. But if I had to, I would, and I know this is a hot topic, but CM Punk would be in mine. And he has done so much in wrestling that no one else did that he would deserve a spot on my Mount Rushmore. So having Flair, Dusty, Punk, people are going to hate up on him with them. I get it. But the last one, I would say Triple H. For everything he's done inside and outside, he deserves to be up there.
That's good. I've said recently, I had a conversation. I don't remember if it was on an interview or I was just having this conversation in general with somebody. I much rather Triple H as the creative guy and boss than I did ever him a wrestler. Don't get me wrong, he was very talented and did what he did, but something like I've watched him my entire life, really. You know, I was like 6 or 7 when I first started watching him.
Mm-hmm.
So like I've watched pun intended, the evolution of Triple H happen, and I prefer the boss slash, guy, because yes, while he still is one of the boys, he understands how to make a story grow.
Yeah.
And it pisses off a lot of people because he likes that slow burn, but sometimes he'll fasten it up and slow it back down because he just wants to feed that crowd, right? So you just said it. Since the Triple H era started, where's your mind with professional wrestling again? Are you like right back into it like you were 8 years old again, or are you just like
I am
fading back out?
I feel like I'm a kid again. Everything I'm seeing, I'm constantly on the edge of my couch here watching. And it's every week. It's the way he's running it is insane. I'm watching NXT and I'm at the edge of my seat. I'm watching Monday Night Raw. I'm at the edge of my seat. SmackDown at the edge of my seat. Every pay-per-view, I'm at the edge of my seat. I haven't felt like that since I was a kid. You know, as you grow with it, I feel like, you know, I personally went through an era where I was like, I can guess kind of what's happening. I know this guy's never going to win. And then you watch it now and you're like, well, what just happened that he won? Whoa, right? And I'm getting a lot of those moments again. And it's that excitement that I had when I was a kid. When you're watching and you really don't know what's happening and that guy wins, right? Like I remember being a kid and watching Jeff Hardy win the WWE title. I'm like, that right there is, I can do this, right? And it's like that gave me faith to actually pursue this. And I feel like with the Triple H era, they're presenting a lot of those opportunities again. And they're reaching a lot broader of a demographic, and a lot more people are going to be inspired to do what we do.
Exactly. I mean, how often are you going to see Sami Zayn in a world title picture.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Sammy, but I'm not quite sure he needs to be there because I prefer his body of work than what he's doing with. But I digress. Love Sammy. Okay. This one, your favorite show of the week would be what?
I'm a Monday Night Raw guy. I'm enjoying what they're doing over on Raw, what they're trying to bring to the table with Gunther as the world champ. Insane. Judgment Day, great to see. Crazy to see Carlito back because, that's someone I grew up watching and loving as well. And then Carlito comes back and I'm like, okay, this is cool. They're doing a lot of the unexpected, like I had said. I like watching NXT. That is what I follow quite often. It's just like NXT is total nonstop excitement. They got some crazy things going on. So yeah, Mondays and Wednesdays.
Tuesdays to NXT, which I will plug my buddy here, Scals. He runs a show immediately following or sometimes during NXT. It's called NXT on Tap, where they discuss everything that's happening. So maybe check it out, talk with him. Maybe you can appear on the show sometime. I don't know.
Yeah,
These guys are crazy with this NXT stuff. I find it boring, but I digress. That's just my thing. I just
yeah.
Who do you believe changed the game when it comes to wrestling in the modern era? And you can't say CM Punk.
No, I won't say CM Punk because I wouldn't even. I know like modern era. I wouldn't even. CM Punk changed it when I was like a teenager. Modern era, like the Shield, those three: Roman Reigns, John Moxley, Seth Rollins, have changed the era. They brought a whole new aspect of what pro wrestling is, and just a whole new life to it. Right? They're going from the Shield, and everybody loved them, and they're these NXT guys coming up, and now it's like trying to name three bigger names would be difficult. To say that they all came up successful and moved at the same pace. Now, obviously, those paces are a bit different, but having Seth, having John, having Roman, they changed things. I think it was crazy that let's go back Money in the Bank, the night that each one of them pinned each other for the world title. That changed things. That to me was the night, and from that point on, it's never been the same.
Yeah, I mean, John's doing fantastic work with AEW. Seth's been a workhorse in WWE since. We just watched Roman come off arguably the greatest reign in history. That's not from the 40s through 70s.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and it took was Roman to be a heel, and look what happened.
I know.
And he is now so over as a face, and he didn't even have to be there to become it.
Yeah.
That's just crazy to me. Personally, I'm a big Bray Wyatt guy. I think he changed a lot of the game and how things are done creatively.
Bray Wyatt. Little fact, I have a half sleeve dedicated to the man. There we go. We got his lantern. Oh, I'm bad with camera. Got his lantern in there. There's the man. There we go.
I have his words written right here.
That's amazing. I have Fear is a Liar up on there. I got the buzzards up in here. I got a whole half sleeve. The man meant the world to me too.
I will have to send you some pictures of my Bray Wyatt stuff. I think you'll love it. Actually, we're talking Bray. I have my half fiend mask on hand.
That's cool.
I'm a big Bray guy. I plan to get more artwork done of Bray.
Yeah.
Very soon.
Man.
So, with that being said, do you like what's happening right now in the WWE with the Wyatt stuff?
Yeah, I do. I think it's beyond because a lot of it, what they're working on now is continuing what Bray had left off. They're bringing their family together. They're introducing people like Dexter Lumis.
Properly.
It's just, yeah, exactly. And it's just to take the characters and actually let them run with it, as opposed to having to work all of these older gimmicks that just weren't really working out. Maybe the Vince era, to see them come together to pay tribute to someone that from everywhere that's saying that people loved. Me personally loved him. To see that tribute happening every week on Raw, just again heartwarming. It's bringing me back to being a kid.
It's very nice. And I know a lot of people are like, well, it's shitting on his no. I feel like respectfully to the company, if Taylor, aka
Yeah.
Bo, had an issue with it, I think he would just walk away because he
Yeah.
doesn't want to tarnish Wyndham's legacy at all.
No.
So I
No, and
think
I think he's doing great at keeping himself. Obviously, a lot of it, what he does is tribute, but he's doing a really a good job at creating his own worth in the ring beyond his brother's name. And I think that was the hurdle that I think everyone knew he would have to get over. And I don't think a lot of people are realizing he's gotten over that. Not completely, but in a sense, he is becoming his own person. And I think he's phenomenal as well. Always been a fan of Bo, watching him since his FCW days, and just seeing them come up. It would have been great to see them as tag champs, but to see what he's doing with their family, and just I'm hoping that it just gets crazier. But it's really good.
so. This isn't wrestling related; it's music related, but it kind of leads into what we just talked about with legacy. The most recent big news, well, at least in my opinion, Linkin Park naming Emily Armstrong their new lead singer.
Right.
You seem like somebody that enjoys Linkin Park, or at least that genre of music. So, where's your take on this?
You know, I gotta say, a lot of people are upset about it, but Linkin Park wasn't just the lead singer; it was the band, and I think they're going in a great direction. I watched back her performance. I loved it. I didn't see an issue with it, and I think they could do some really good stuff if they're able to.
I think a lot of the biggest turnoff with Emily to a lot of people is she can't sing like Crawling and Numb like Chester did. Keep in mind, these songs were written by Chester with pure emotion. That's not going to be the same emotion from person to person.
Right,
You can vibe with the song, but you're not going to hit that emotional state behind it if you
right,
don't have it.
right. And the thing with that too is like he wrote those songs; those are his songs. Like if she was able to just come in and do them, we don't want to lose sight of what was. You know what I mean? Sure, she might not be able to do those certain songs, but let her run, let her cook and see what she can do moving forward, right? And eventually it'll be a culmination and you can still go back and listen to those old songs and they almost stay more close to your heart knowing that maybe she can't or if that's how you view it. But, you know, not everybody can just step into someone else's shoes and do what she's doing. It would be like imagine stepping up there. You're now the lead singer of Linkin Park. Insane. Just
But
a
like
big.
the next thing that caught me off guard, and I don't know how much time you spend on the Twitterverse or X, however you want to call it, um, is there what I don't remember a time where there was this much uproar when Adam Lambert joined Queen.
Yeah.
And Freddie Mercury is a once in a generational lifetime voice himself.
Right.
So like what is the difference here? Why are we doing this is fine, but this isn't? Is it because
Exactly.
she's a female? Like I don't understand.
I don't know. I and like that. You know, it could be people's perspective. I think a lot of people just unfortunately like jump on things without giving it a listen. And the biggest comment I kept seeing everywhere was listen, just listen to her. Give her a listen. And if you don't like her, okay, well then you don't like her and it's fine. But you don't need to go online and tear it down. You don't need to blow this up. You know.
You don't need to dig into her past. Leave it alone. People have a past. We get
Everybody
it.
has a past. Everybody, in some way, shape, or form, everybody has a past. And to then start digging that up and throwing it at her, is that her now? No. Who is she now? The lead singer of Linkin Park, and she's trying to do right. But you know, obviously, like it can get very political. But I think she's doing great, and she got some big shoes to fill. But the fact she's even trying, I couldn't do.
Yeah, kudos to her.
Yeah.
So, do you spend a lot of time on Twitter?
I am non-existent on Twitter.
So I know you're on Insta.
Yeah,
I don't know
Instagram.
what the I do not know what the IWC is like on Instagram because I kind of just post and have DMs there. I don't
Yeah,
really pay attention to the feeds. What is your big? I don't know. Maybe even Facebook, you see the IWC as well.
yeah.
What is your biggest takeaway as a wrestler that you want to see stop in the IWC? Like I understand, and again, I'm not trying to pull the curtain back. I
Yeah.
understand that you have an image to maintain, but
Mhm.
take away you from the wrestler for a second.
Right.
What you're seeing online and towards professional wrestling, indie wrestling, what is the one thing you wish the IWC would stop?
Judging a book by its cover or something that really bothers me is when people watch one specific clip of somebody or something happen and they jump on it, and there's a lot of negativity or a lot of things are said. It might prompt certain people not to make it certain places. And like, again, it almost linking back to the Linkin Park. Like, you don't know everything about the person unless you like avidly, you're following, you're on it, you know them. Like, it's hard when a lot of people are going out there and they're busting their behinds to get places where they never thought they would, and it's to see it even diminished is really heartbreaking sometimes. And I know obviously it would be like absurd to broadcast how you got there and everything leading up to it, but to go on and possibly see something so like, and it starts with even silly comments maybe, and it's that snowball effect is what I would love to see stop. Something that, they're not tearing down someone for something, say so minor or something. Like, you have a bad night, everybody has a bad night, right? But I find a lot of people immediately jump on it, and that's kind of it's kind of the day and age these days, actually, is that immediate. It needs to happen now, and all of this needs to happen now, and everything takes time.
You know what? I can agree, and I was guilty of, a couple times where I'm like, well, why is this person on my screen? Why is this? Why is that? Or overanalyzing, over criticizing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said this in an interview recently. WrestleMania this year kind of made me step back a little bit
Yeah.
because I watched it with my children. My daughter, who's 5, she's a big Cody fan,
Yeah.
and I mean big. And watching her stay up till the wee hours of the night for her to watch him wrestle, and just the pure elation and excitement and the joy, it made me kind of be like, I need to go back to that. I need
Yeah.
to go back to watching wrestling in the mindset of a child.
Yeah.
When wrestling was wrestling, I wasn't looking at it as, oh, well, this is happening backstage and this is
Mm-hmm.
happening here. I still do that, but now I do it in a different way.
Yeah.
But when I'm watching it, I try to open my mind again back to being a child.
Right. And I think that's the best way, because like, just looking at it with pure just joy and just curiosity, and not knowing though, like, that's what I like being in wrestling compared to when I was a kid is, you know nothing when you're a kid. Um it's just wrestling, and it's these gods. I looked at them as gods. Going out there and doing these phenomenal things. And then you get older and you can get in the backstage. You now the internet's insane compared to when I was younger. I grew up not really having a computer, and then now it's like the whole world is a computer.
You hold one
So
in your hand daily.
yeah, exactly. So to see it get jumped on so quick sometimes is it's too accessible, and I think people like need that childhood curiosity, that childhood like, wow, it's amazing. Like, Cody Rhodes beat Roman Reigns. Took him 2 WrestleManias to do it, right? That is insane. Like, that is a long storytelling. That is a lot of effort getting put in from Cody Rhodes. And when he won, it was pure excitement. And then a little bit you see online, there are people are tearing it down, and maybe he shouldn't have been the guy, and it should have been Roman and Rock, and should have been, would have been, could have been. You know what I mean? But like, the
No.
fact that where you're watching, what you're watching, I've always been happy to see it. So
Perfect. Yeah. 2 questions more here, and then we'll kind of get ending up with things. Dream opponent or couple, and stipulation and matches if you have those, because I feel like you probably have a couple. A couple.
dream opponent stipulations. Man, that's hard. That's hard because there's so many scenarios that I could think of. I probably go off the road of this a little bit, but I like the comedic wrestlers a lot growing up. I've always wanted, when you see Santino Marella, WrestleMania, and he's in like the Divas Battle Royale. Love,
This WrestleMania.
yeah, love that stuff growing up. So to be in that sort of scenario, that's where I would love to see myself. But if you're really going against dream opponent, it would be crazy to face Edge, Adam Copeland. that would just be, everything I ever wanted growing up, from a childhood to an adult. That would be it. Stipulation probably have to be something like a TLC match.
I was just gonna say, would it be you versus Adam in a TLC in Toronto by chance?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I felt like that's where I was going when I asked. Okay.
But just add to that as well, real quick, before we jump to the next topic. Dem Dawgs versus Edge and Christian. Woo, woo, woo. That would be a good match. It would be.
Give me Dem Dawgs versus Rick and Scott Steiner Prime.
Oh, there you go.
That's a whole lot of dog fighting right there.
Oh yeah. I'm definitely maybe a third of their size, so I would be their ragdoll for the night. But man, would that be fun.
If you could have any, with respect to your tag team partner, of course, if you could have any wrestler in their prime work with you as a manager, tag team partner, even just work in the ring, other than Edge, because we already discussed that.
Yeah.
Who would you pick? Why?
Well, Rey Mysterio is one of my other idols growing up. Having Rey, like, he was a phenomenal tag team wrestler. I think that's who I would go with. And like, all my love to Izzy Dubs, he's phenomenal. But like Rey Mysterio, I feel like would be my connection. Just the way he moved, the way he presented himself, and the way he was able to make himself seem like bigger than the Big Show when it comes to personality, when it comes to moves in the ring. Like, that's what I would love to be, because I'm not the biggest guy. And I don't think I ever will be. But if I can present myself the way he presents himself, with the pride, and just like when he comes out, eyes light up, right? If I can get that, that's who I would probably go for my tag partner.
I love that answer. Okay. Last question. I'm going to steal this from a colleague of mine, the Will Gray. Is hot dog a sandwich?
No, hot dog is not a sandwich. My friend Devin recently told me it is a taco, because it does not break. A sandwich breaks. There's a taco. It's a taco. It's a meat taco.
Love that answer. I will save the un-PG comment for this after. Going forward, you have some matches coming up. So I'm going to take a minute here and let you plug everything you need to plug. You can plug your merch. You can plug whatever you want. There is no off-limit subject here. All I ask is you be respectful. So go ahead and plug away.
Well, first and foremost, we have a new theme song debuting soon. It was created by the group Forefront. Shout out to my main man Statement of the group, who reached out and got it connected. He came out to see one of our shows, and phenomenal human being to meet. He helped get that going, and I got my first theme song, which I never thought would happen. So that's really exciting. Secondly, shout out to Off the Rope Studios. These people are like family. And it's insane the way I was able to get into their training school and go through the ropes. It's their next level when it comes to commitment, to hard work, and to making you feel like you belong. So shout out to them. I owe everything to them. Beyond that, my tag team partner, Izzy Dubs, and we are going, like I had mentioned earlier, October 5th, Bullies on Parade in Guelph. Everything will be shared on my Instagram. It's at The Happy Wrestler. Give me a shout. Give me anything. Come on out. Yeah. Other than that, we have a show coming up on this Friday, actually, for Off the Rope Studio. My tag partner is going out. I should be out there with them. Off the Rope shows are so consistent as well, and they're doing such amazing things. They're coming to Kitchener Comic-Con soon. I know there's Oktoberfest. They're doing so many different things in wrestling. It's really cool to see take off for them. And I'm really happy that they were able to achieve their goals. And I'm glad that they're now extending the hand for me to achieve mine.
Where can we find your merch, my guy?
My merch isn't online just yet. When you come out to one of our shows, we will be in the back with our table. But soon I will have on foreverchangingapparel.ca. I will have the Dem Dawgs merch. Should be in the next couple of weeks, hopefully.
All right, I'm going to step away from the wrestling side of things for a second. Plug away your personal business, get some everybody hitting you up. I got many people that listen. I'm sure they would love to maybe contact you for merch ideas themselves. So by all means, plug that, please.
Jump on. I'm on Instagram and Facebook for Forever Changing Apparel and Collectibles and Forever Wrestling Canada. Spelt the same way, Facebook and Instagram. Message us if you have anything. We can come up with merch. We can help with sponsorship deals. Anything you're looking for. We are looking to just give back to the wrestling community and help you guys out, whoever you may be. So don't be afraid to reach out. Again, it's Forever Wrestling Canada and Forever Changing Apparel and Collectibles.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Spotlight with Shadow. Make sure you support your indie friends because they are trying to make the dream work. And we want to support them all the way to the top and back down and back up again because that's what they deserve. And that is what we are here for. With that said, I am Shadow. This is Happy. This has been Spotlight with Shadow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Down to the bottom again. I'm gonna